If you're selling a consumable product that has repeat purchases and strong customer lifetime value, you need to be selling on Amazon. But for a lot of brands, Amazon is a black box. They don't totally understand how it works, and a lot of the times they just view it as a channel that's cannibalizing their core D2C channel. But in reality, Amazon is actually an unbelievable channel to build really strong relationships with your customers. The majority of Amazon orders are people going back to their order history and just ordering what they ordered previously. So you can imagine how powerful that is to be on your customer's phone and get those repeat purchases super easily. And to go deep on Amazon and really run a masterclass on Amazon marketing, I'm having my friend Jordan on. Jordan is the vice president of strategy at one of the leading Amazon agencies called Piranha. They work with massive consumer brands, and she's going to explain all of the ins and outs of marketing on Amazon. Specifically, you're going to learn the micro strategies that you need to focus on to rank well organically on Amazon, specifically how much inventory you need to have in the platform ready for delivery so that you rank higher on the platform, and a couple other tactical things that are related to this ranking algorithm. And you're going to learn about this display ads offer that Amazon now has for ads that allows for you to target based off of geography. So you can get as niche with, hey, I want to show sunscreen to people in these zip codes, and show an actual ad that's showing a location within that geography with the product. I'm just imagining combining UGC of a person living in San Diego as an example, promoting a sunscreen product at a location that everybody in San Diego knows about. It feels very relative to the potential customer that you're trying to get a sale from. And another thing you're going to learn is how all your display ads traffic is driving purchases on Amazon, driving searches on Amazon, even if you're not selling there. There's a direct correlation between branded search lift and campaigns that are happening off the platform. And the reality is, for a lot of customers, Amazon is where they go to make a purchase decision, especially if you're marketing on TikTok. And this episode is brought to you by LandingCat. LandingCat is an automated SEO and CRO software for e-commerce companies that helps you build 10,000 plus pages related to your products for keywords that your target customer is searching for on Google. You just plug in the LandingCat, it ingests your product catalog, and then it finds all the opportunities for you, both for collection pages and also for blog posts. And when you publish this volume of pages, it turns SEO into a performance channel like it never could be before, where it can have the impact of your paid ad strategies or the influencer campaigns that you're running. If you want to do SEO for your e-commerce brand that will actually scale, go to landingcat.com to learn more. And with that said, let's get started with today's show. Yo, how you doing?
Hi. So
Dude,
good.
it's
How
so
are
good.
you?
I know. Jordan and I have known each other for years, but this is the first time we've actually gotten to do something
Yeah.
like business related. We've been, outside of the business world friends. So anyway, super stoked to have you today and have you just basically do a crash course on Amazon as a channel for e-commerce companies. I think there's like two camps, I feel like, within the e-commerce world. It's either like you're deep on Amazon, you're not doing anything else, or you're like doing
$100%.
D2C and you're not doing any Amazon. So the goal kind of today
Yep.
is to bridge the gap between those, and talk about, how to basically like open up Amazon as a channel, but also like what are the crossovers that you see here? Because I know, for example, I was talking to a person recently, and they were saying that when you run, for example, like a TikTok influencer campaign, you see a lift in Amazon branded searches for that product.
100%.
And so anyway,
Mhm.
we'll just dive right into it. So, so first question for you. So Amazon, like what's the biggest thing that people mess up on when they try to open up Amazon as a channel if it's a D2C brand?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing they miss is definitely thinking of the platform as, like one slice of the pie in their holistic marketing strategy. Like you said it super poignantly, like leading into that, where you were like, there's people that either lean in fully and they're like, this is my primary channel, or they are like, absolutely not on Amazon. They think of Amazon as potentially cannibalizing, their like D2C conversions. Many people have the like critique that fees are way too high on Amazon to like justify it. But like, also like you said earlier, like whether it's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat in some cases, like wherever you may be spending off-channel marketing from an Amazon perspective, like you're always going to see your Amazon branded searches increase. And so, the customer wants to shop there. And unfortunately, like if you want to lean into demand, you need to follow, where that's landing. So if you're not, you know, like thinking of that full funnel view where like spend elsewhere can be related to your presence, it's not just this like siloed channel, then, you're really missing out on a big opportunity to meet customer needs where you may not be already.
No, that makes total sense. And it's funny. So, first question related to this is like in comparison to like a
Yeah.
ROAS that somebody's seeing on like a Facebook ads or Google ads. Like, what is a ROAS or your? You have a different term you use. I think it's like ACOS or ACOS. Is that correct or something like
Yeah,
that?
sure, sure. We use
What?
ACOS,
Yep.
ROAS as well, either way.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are you seeing, kind of from like a typical ROAS, for Amazon as a channel when you've like optimized it? You're working with a brand for 12 months and you've basically taken it as far as you can. Like, what does that look like?
Totally. Totally. I mean, I think there's kind of two different buckets for answering that question. One would be for, a consumable good, one would be for a non-consumable good. So for a consumable good, you're thinking of your lifetime value for that customer. So you're willing to be a little bit more aggressive, get that first purchase, look at your repeat purchase rates, and ultimately, create like a cycle and of consumption for that product, right? So on Amazon especially, when it just comes to, your direct ROAS, ad sales to, ad spend on the channel alone, like anywhere from a 2 to 3, depending on your margin, you might have like specific needs in that sense, of course, but like is a really healthy place to be. But that's also to say like this is one of the hot topics on Amazon right now is that cost per clicks have increased significantly in the last, like, 5 years. It's happened year over year where, like, average CPCs have gotten, like, 20% higher minimum, right? So, like, that's, indicative, of course, of, like, the supply and demand on the channel. It's a very competitive space, but all the same, like, there are, a few factors, like, working against you that do make the platform super competitive. So, to kinda tailor it back to, like, your original question too, one of the, key drivers of success on Amazon currently is stepping back from the platform and saying, like, "Okay, if, the clicks that I can generate on this platform alone are super expensive, inflated, whatever, how do I, utilize my email lists, my social media presence, my 360 awareness, like whatever that is, and drive traffic to Amazon to ultimately subsidize my CPCs, subsidize my algorithms. Like you're going to get a more effective cost per click on TikTok right now. Like that's just a fact for the most part. Um, so, that's kind of a piece where, you know, I think that alone there like applies to both the consumable and non-consumable space, but to tailor it back to your question, like a 2 to 3 return on Amazon as alone, given the ecosystem is, a healthy place to be and definitely something that brands should strive for.
Totally. Can you talk to me more about consumable versus non-consumable? And like, I imagine there's like a type of brand that Amazon makes sense for, and
Mhm.
then there's a type of brand that like
Totally.
it doesn't. Because
Yeah.
it's just like such a competitive space. I'm just thinking about a client that's in like the jewelry category. Like, there
Sure.
is no way that you're going to be able to probably go and beat up like a margin there.
Yeah.
Just because there's so many competitors, it's so for them they're building brand, right? Like that's what they do. They're trying to get inbound
Totally.
traffic to their core site, and then they're
Yeah.
doing like a huge SEO play, so that's like a piece of it. But anyways, to take a step back, I guess what are the types of companies that like Amazon is a channel that will work for them? And then how do
Yeah.
you think about the customer lifetime value of those brands? Like you're talking about this consumables. I imagine like a deodorant company, right? Where it's like, oh, they're going to order this and then every,
Yep.
2 months they're going to reorder this or something
Mhm.
like that. And so you're kind of, I'm imagining you can see that data with Amazon. Could you
Yeah.
share that with me?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, the ideal Amazon brand is a consumable. So, something, yeah, like a deodorant, like a shampoo, like a, face cloth that's disposable, toilet paper, paper towels, any of that stuff that, like, is somewhat commodity depending on the customer, but also consumable, and really the closer you are to commodity, the better you are gonna rank and build that, like, lifetime value on the platform. Amazon is super keen on the subscribe and save program, so algorithmically, you get boosts there, you get incentivized, you get further, like, reliability metrics, you get more time spent on your PDPs, like, all sorts of things that elevate your presence in the long term, and ultimately, it is a platform that is, more so than D2C or even like TikTok Shop is a lot more equivalent to like a retail store for people because you go there for your everyday items. You go there because it's a reliable shipping process. And it's essentially the closest thing you could get to a brick and mortar for, standard purchases, not the type of purchase where you are like treating yourself, whether it's to a jewelry um, of some sort, Valentine's Day is around the corner, whether or not it is, something that is less consumable, maybe like a shirt, underwear, something that does have, a lifespan, but it's definitely on a longer scale there. So, yeah, you're looking for a consumable product, ideally something that the consumption cycle is like 30 to 45 days, is 24.99 or cheaper. That's like the sweet spot. There's kind of two key price points on Amazon. One's 14.99, one's 24.99. So like the closer you are to either of those, I've seen in some instances for consumable products a better conversion rate at 24.99 than like a 22.59. So even having a slightly higher price point, but like right in that sweet spot where it's an easy sell. The 24.99 also plays into, the feature on Amazon where you get like free 1-day shipping at the $25 like cart value or higher. Or if you're a non-Prime member, you get Prime shipping if your cart is above $25. So, that's also something for some people too. Like if you're, looking to cancel your Prime membership, like if your basket is above 25 bucks, you're gonna get the Prime shipping anyway.
Totally. So you're almost incentivizing them. That's funny. You'd probably pick that over, the 20 whatever, the 24.99 over the
Totally, because
$22
you end up
purely because
yeah.
of that.
You end up getting closer to that, or you're buying 2 of the 14.99 item, like, whatever that is, and you're over that $25 value. So you're like, "Oh, easy, I need this, and this, or I can get ahead of this consumption cycle," "My toothpaste is on sale," like, whatever it is. It, is also a platform that almost, like, encourages that behavior, like, skincare, beauty, those are 2 of the categories that are absolutely dominating Amazon, and that's because, you may start by saying like, "Oh, I need a moisturizer," right? But like the whole space is evolved around segmenting like use cases for different ingredients and different products. So like depending on your view, you may have a toner and a serum and a moisturizer and an eye cream and then, a separate deodorant and then a body oil and then a whole hair care regimen. Now hair care is becoming more of like a skincare where you do have a shampoo and conditioner, but you also have serums that go into that. So it like the amount of like consumable items that you could, sell to someone if you were to like capture a full regimen of space, like whatever that is. And I'm kind of using beauty as an example, but the more you're gonna lean into these underlying like algorithmic components on Amazon that organically and paid, but like, we all love organic traffic, elevate your visibility and, your conversion as a whole, which is a whole other area of discussion because there are like thousands of microcredits that we call them microcredits on Amazon, where the more that you lean into them, you see your organic visibility increase. So like
Talk to me about
understanding what
microcredits. Can you expand on that?
yeah, absolutely. So, like, understanding what microcredits are, like, leans into the same question of, like, what is that ideal, Amazon product? Because Amazon is AWS at the end of the day. They're a very advanced, global internet system. They track everything, So, kind of a side note as well that, like, if you're working on Amazon and you feel like you're not getting the right data or this, that, and the other thing, it's usually a lack of understanding or a lack of the right like network and connections because there is a ton of data available on Amazon. You just need to know how to access it. Because I guarantee you, Amazon has what you're looking for. But I digress on that one. So yeah, back to the microcredits. Like, um, there are different factors that Amazon tracks that specifically, like sum together to give your product listing, your PDP, to use an Amazon term, your ASIN, a like higher score versus your competitors. And there's kind of three primary buckets that factor into that. One, I would call like reliability microcredits. So those are things like your inventory position. If you are constantly, going in and out of stock, like Amazon is tracking every single minute of your in stock position. So like not only does a positive in stock position like work favorably for you in the algorithm and tell the algorithm like, hey, this ASIN, if it has traffic driven to it, is reliable to provide, really just like a functional and shoppable consumer experience to someone. In the same way, there are like negative microcredits where if you have an out of stock position and a customer comes to that page, you have a bounce rate, and Amazon remembers that and says like, oh well, this one time, a customer did go there and they weren't able to provide like a shoppable button to the customer. So like, can we trust them to do that in the long term? So like the longer you have out of stocks on record, that starts to work really negatively really quickly for any one product. So, that's just kind of an example of these reliability metrics, like best practice
No,
there.
people love
You
this, Jordan. Like that is the exact type of thing. So if you have like any of these other details where you're like, no, you need to
Yeah,
focus on this. That's the only way you're going to see organic success. Like
100%.
go deep on that all day long on
Let's
this
go. Yeah.
show. So
Microcredits is like my favorite topic because, like you said, it's like it's very tactical stuff. Best practice like on the inventory side of things is like maintain like 75 plus days on hand at any point in time. And like
that's
that
crazy.
is going to work favorably for you to speak to these algorithms, tell them you're reliable, tell them you are managing your inventory, and ultimately, like, if you are going up against your competitor in the, ads side of things or in the organic ranking side of things, like you're going to have a leg up, all other things remaining true just because of your inventory position, which is awesome to see.
No, that makes
Um,
total sense. It's kind of
yeah,
it's interesting too, immediately my brain goes to Google and like organic search and
sure,
total contrast, right? They don't care about inventory. It's like the page quality at answering the query. So like I've
totally.
seen there's tons of pages like this that rank on massive marketplace websites where there is
Hmm.
literally no inventory. Like Nordstrom's is a classic culprit of this, where there's
Hmm.
no inventory for the thing that you're searching for, but it still ranks page one because
But
it's
it's
answering
still
that
right
query
there.
well.
Yep,
Exactly, which is a total contrast because like Amazon, the only way they get paid, like Google gets
yep,
paid if the traffic goes to that page, right? Amazon only
totally.
gets paid if that sale happens,
Hmm.
and so of course they're going to incentivize you basically to always have that inventory in stock and then reward you with a higher organic listing if that
Yep,
inventory is always in stock. So anyways, just
yep,
a different mechanism, which is really fascinating. But I had a question about I can't remember what you said, but it was talking about how like people kind of focus on distribution of a single product almost as a way to introduce to the rest of the brand. I
sure.
had a guy on the show recently who was talking about TikTok Shop, and
Yeah.
a lot of the brands that he's working with, like they don't really love TikTok Shop. It's not a great
Mhm.
margin. It's actually like sometimes it can be like cost neutral, right?
Sure.
But they're thinking about this more and more, where it's like, hey, we're going to build this product as a way that we're going to introduce people to the brands, and they use
Mhm.
TikTok Shop basically as this vehicle to then really like it's if they can break even right and
Yeah,
get the
they're
product and
happy.
exactly, it's like free media reach is how they're thinking about it. We're getting free CPMs basically because
Totally.
we get all of this reach on the platform. Are you seeing brands do that in a way where they're like, hey, we have this flagship product that we're focusing on, or even like a cheaper entry level product that gets people
Mhm.
introduced to the brand, and then they're
Mhm.
kind of cross selling those other products? Or how do people think about that when they're structuring their SKU like offering, their product catalog offering?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, variety packs go a long way for sure. That's like one side of it. The other side of it would be, say you have different like scent options of a product, different color options, like something like that would be some sort of like smaller scale, version potentially of like an assortment of those products. It doesn't have to be all of them either. You may have like call it like 10 different scents, of a deodorant or something, but even a trial pack that gets like 3, ideally of your best sellers, something like that you're confident in the door, like there you have, a 1 in 3 chance there of, potentially converting that
Creating that
customer
repeat. Yeah.
and getting that repeat versus, like, putting all of your eggs in one basket. So that's, definitely something that, like, within the Amazon ecosystem, what we'll do is deploy, the variety pack. You can even call it a trial pack, like try to encourage that sentiment of low commitment, low price
Testing it
point. Like,
out.
hey, ultimately, it's no harm, no foul if you purchase this. You get the purchase as the seller either way. And then, you're increasing your chances of flow to whatever that like standalone SKU is in the bigger picture. So yeah, if you were like starting from scratch and saying like, hey, in a year, I want to have this like ideal Amazon presence, 100% it would include, a trial pack ideally that allows you to filter down to whatever your, higher lifetime value SKUs would be.
Makes total sense. I imagine too, kind of the strategy there is that we're going to get larger bundle size. Maybe the
Mhm.
margin's worse, but at least it's at a dollar amount where it's like, oh, this is. So I'm just thinking like if I can get a purchase of $100, my margin's only we'll say 30% versus I
Yep,
can get an introductory purchase of only $15. The margin might be a higher 60%, but I'm still making more in the aggregate of that bundle. So kind of
exactly.
the strategy piece behind it that makes I feel like it's obvious when you say it, but I think for a lot of people, they probably aren't thinking about it.
Definitely.
So on the talk to me about the I feel like I've seen this a lot. Like you go through forums and people are like, oh, and like they're again the D2C camp. They're like
Yeah.
Amazon creates brand erosion.
Mhm.
I want you tell me why that's wrong. Tell me how to
Sure.
think about it in a better way. And like for
Yeah.
companies that are looking at this as like basically like, oh, that's only where cheap products go.
Sure.
Why is that the wrong way to think about this?
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, the question gets answered about like where does the customer want to shop? And then secondly, it would be like, are you defining your margin as a percentage or as a dollar value, right? Because with expansion into like any channel, especially one like Amazon, where like point blank you're making that decision because you're saying D2C, I have, lower fulfillment fees for fulfilling my own orders. Amazon, I have a referral fee and a fulfillment fee, and that's gonna like tank 15% of my margin right there. So you may see that, but ultimately, like your opportunity is gonna be higher on Amazon. It is the, most trafficked e-commerce channel in the world, you know? Like everyone shops there, whether you are driving awareness on TikTok, Instagram, any sort of platform, like you're going to see a correlation to your branded searches increase on Amazon. I have a brand right now, in a high growth phase. They're launching on Amazon literally next week. They're, based in Hong Kong. They only have D2C availability. They've been available for sale in the world for 3 weeks and we're already seeing like 2,000 branded searches in a month on Amazon by factor of solely launching and gaining a little bit of presence on Instagram. So your customer is going to navigate there anyway. And in one way or the other, even if your margin is lower, not being on that platform, you're missing out on that. And then, to kind of speak to like, well, would that not just like cannibalize my D2C traffic, my D2C margin, and ultimately do that? Like the lines there are a lot more like binary than you may think. Obviously you're always going to have a little bit of like this person migrated over here, this person migrated maybe back to D2C. There's some strategies you can kind of go in about that where like maybe you incentivize your subscriptions on your D2C more heavily, right? So like for those customers that are really going to stick around for 10 plus purchases, something like that, like you are finding an opportunity with them in your D2C one way or the other. um but we did like a pretty, significant case study at one point where we monitored Amazon customers through ad tokens, and through just like merchant tokens in total and said like, hey, as we see customers purchase for the first time on D2C and then drop off, we actually saw them resurrect on Amazon. We also saw, about 20% of customers who made their first purchase on Amazon ultimately find D2C and their lifetime value lived over there, right? So like rising tides lift all ships. I think it's hard because it's one of those things where Amazon has no incentive to allow you to have that insight. It can be more difficult to, really get
Yeah,
the
they don't
data in
want you to
front of
get
you.
off platform
Yeah,
whatsoever,
that
right?
makes you
Yeah.
feel confident about that. But all the same, like it's been studied, largely again you're seeing rising tides like across the board. And then second to that, for anyone that does want to be tactful about it and like you're on Amazon, you're selling, and if you have, either a SaaS rep or you have an Amazon, ads executive that you're actively working with, you can ask them to do an incrementality test. What that'll open up for you is the capacity to, get a token from Amazon. You can plug that into their reporting, you can plug it into your own reporting, and ultimately like track customers on D2C and see if they are navigating on Amazon. See if that like customer segment from D2C is flowing over. You can correlate that with different ad projects, like whatever it may be, and really understand your own brand. Cause at the end of the day, you're always going to have nuances that, differ from the norm.
No, that makes total sense. That's so fascinating too. I I feel like the consumer, hearing you say this, I'm like, of course you need to be at this channel, right? Like we need to think about it like it's like a, a Nordstrom's or a retailer almost like this. There's this
Totally.
location that you're selling through. Like that's really what's actually happening, rather than this cannibalization. Like they're still at the end of the day, they're still buying your product, right? Like in some
Sure.
form. Like that's still adding value. So you got to meet them where they are. We've talked about some tactical stuff. Let's go deep on that. I honestly, I feel like we could probably spend the rest of the episode just talking about like page optimization, like what you're doing on the ranking side, like
Yeah.
how you're running campaigns that are being successful, and then any of the off-platform stuff that you're using to basically like boost the Amazon sales. I think that's fascinating as well to kind of go into. Let's just dive in. So, talk to me about profile optimization and like what is working currently. What's the most impactful thing that brands can do?
Yeah, let's do it. So this again is kind of just like that same topic of microcredits. So like we talked about the inventory position already, reliability, that kind of comes down to like the account management level. Like there's a whole other bucket, similar to like what you mentioned on Google related to your front end presence, your creative, the quality of your SEO and imagery, and really what that front end experience looks like. You may be on, a platform, but you are still like a user interface, user experience designer when you're going into your listings. So, basic things down to like the specs of your images. Like if they're above 3000 by 3000 and in PNG format, you're gonna like have a leg up over anyone using JPEG or, that may be at like
So page
2500
load
pixels
speed is
or
going to
below.
be totally. So it's a
100%.
factor within it. We see that
Yeah,
with page speed optimization for the sites, right? Like same idea,
totally.
but okay, cool.
Yep,
So that's
yep.
first thing. What else? What else should they be focusing on? High
First
impact
thing
stuff.
there Yeah. First thing there, like, you're gonna have to look at brand registry. That is, like, something you have to have a trademark for. Like, by default, do that. It opens up the ability to create a brand store, the ability to have something called a brand story, which it is just kind of like an enhanced creative feature on your listing. You can have video on your listing because of that. And then you also get access to a plus content, if not premium A plus content. So all of those like enhanced creative moments, um, you know, one step just by involving yourself with them. Like again, you're going to stand out against your competitors. You're going to index for more things. You're also going to get a better degree of organic visibility on Amazon because Amazon's only going to make competitors eligible for certain things if you have a brand store, if you have a brand story, etc. And all of those places are opportunities, to further sell your product, cross sell other products, encourage market basket behavior, and ultimately interact with your customer in a deeper fashion. Um, that alone, too, like leans into even another microcredit that Amazon monitors, which is time spent on your page. So, in like optimizing your content, there may be like, say you were dealing with like a makeup brand, and they have different shades of a foundation or something. There would be one way to say like, oh, find your shade. And one would be a little bit more like buy our product and find your shade, see if it works, right? Like that, encourages purchase, but it doesn't necessarily like encourage an activity in the moment or time spent on your page versus another version of the same message where you may have like different swatches, for the different colors. You could tell your customer to, take a screenshot of your skin versus the shades, compare it like the HTML color codes, see which one's closer. And ultimately, like your customer then is spending like 2, 3 minutes on your page. That's a lot of time, a lot of consideration, and a factor that Amazon monitors to say that, like, there's more time being spent in these directions. Similar to Google, they do also want the traffic in tandem with the reliability. So they're not skimping on that aspect of it all. And they're really going to be monitoring like time spent on your page. So the more enhanced creative that you have, and then also the more engaging creative you have, whatever that means for your product, um, the more you're going to stand out algorithmically in organic ranking systems and sponsored ranking systems.
Dude, there's so much that like like that alone is its whole its
It's a
own.
whole deep dive.
No, totally. Yeah, I mean, there's so much value in it. Okay, so talked about listing optimization. Kind of those
Yes,
core factors. Um, let's go into the paid ad side of this.
sure.
Give me a rundown of like what is working. How do you structure those campaigns? How do you think about that? And
Mhm.
then I'm kind of curious to understand too the different types of ad creatives that are being successful. So like traditionally, I know in the past, like a lot of brands only focused on their CPC strategies, but
Sure.
more and more I know that like there's display ad campaigns that are kind of like a discovery campaign that you can run. Can you
Uh-huh.
lay out kind of the landscape that you're seeing within the ads like on platform?
Yeah, definitely. So there are three primary like on platform ad types. One is sponsored products, one sponsored brands, and the other is sponsored display. Sponsored products is your standard, like is going to show up in your search results if you search something like face mask. The sponsored brands you'll see either in the form of a video. Those can be top of search or within search at any point, or a 2D like static image, also top of search or in search at some point in the user experience. And then sponsored display, those are generally like on the side navigation bars of search results. They're on the side navigation bars of product detail pages, and sometimes kind of like in slotted positions above different category nodes. They're less noticeable, but they are like more vast in their real estate on the platform. So there are, benefits to using sponsored brand and sponsored display because they utilize creative beyond the main image. Sponsored product is only utilizing the main image in search. You're like most of the time um going to be utilizing sponsored products because they are the most conversion friendly, but they're not always the greatest like awareness driver. So, using those as like a full funnel approach to really, elevate your visibility as a whole and reach like anyone in market for your product is going to be a great way to go. I think,
Um,
how we kind of look big picture here too is that, we've said already that cost per clicks on Amazon are getting really high. It's recommended to, generate awareness off channel and watch that demand and branded search like increase on Amazon as total. And one mistake I see a lot of people make is then paying for those conversions on your branded search. Like you do get data on Amazon that tells you, what percent of purchases you are capturing on your branded search. So certainly like always monitor that on your own. But 99% of the time, like if someone's already seen an ad for you elsewhere and is searching your brand, knows your brand name, like you don't need to be paying for that purchase. Like you're gonna get it anyway, about 95 plus percent of the time. So it can be a clean user experience. You want someone to search your brand name, like all this stuff comes up, like whatever it is. But if you're really trying to optimize your P&L, generate margin, like branded search is not something you should be paying for. It only biases your, advertising metrics. It's generally non-incremental, purchases that come into your brand in total. And so staying away from that is like something that a lot of people see. They might not like how the ROAS looks necessarily, but in terms of optimizing like what that incremental purchase ad is, like it goes a long way to actually get you something to work on to improve your conversion rate, improve, your awareness driving metrics and whatever that suite might look for you.
no, totally. It's kind of, I mean, Also, it's especially if you're consumable, you're trying to get new customers in the door, right? Or potential new customers that are going to make repeat purchases. Why would you focus on somebody that's already like making this repeat purchase from you? Like
Totally.
all of that ad
Yeah,
spend should go to new customer
that's another
acquisition.
interesting point too, because I recently ran a survey, 500 Amazon Prime members, and asked them specifically with like a manual, input for their answer, like, "Hey, when you go to reorder on Amazon, how do you do it?" 87% of respondents said they go through their order history. So you're not searching anything. You're not going back to the product detail page. You're not doing any of that. Like over 70% of Amazon shoppers are on mobile, for one. And then, 87% of them are going through their order history. So you
I
don't
mean,
need to
that's what
be
I do, right? Just like totally
100%.
anecdotally, but
Yeah. Well, and we all
100%.
do. And I've like, provided that data point to several people. I haven't had anyone tell me that they do anything differently, right?
Totally.
So, like, to kind of that's a good enough bridge as any to talk like DSP and display advertising. Like
Perfect.
Amazon pushes it. It's a great awareness driver, but like their packages that they recommend to you are always super retargeting heavy. And that's because it's a ROAS play. It's not an incremental ROAS play. It's just a straight, return on ad spend play. And, if you have a quality product, like you imagine that you are going to get like lifetime value, your ROAS is going to be good there, but like you may activate that spend, but you're like, okay, you're telling me, we've spent 10 grand, we've generated 100 grand in sales. Why have my sales been flat, since that spend has been activated? And that's exactly why, because your retargeting efforts may, amplify the visibility. There is some kind of case for saying that they might like keep people in the funnel for longer, maybe like, 8 months versus 6 months or something like that. But all the same, like you're generally not adding incremental volume to your business, whatever that might be. So display can be a super healthy place to continue to like reach new audiences in total. Um, but I would definitely shy away from like any of that retargeting efforts. And ultimately though, like the value that you kind of uncover when you pull back the veil of all that retargeting and say like, okay, Amazon, you're recommending this to me, but here's what I want to do, is that you do then get access to all those various like they're called Amazon Marketing Cloud metrics that like are at your disposal. You just have to be the one to vocalize it because Amazon's not going to share that with you. You ask for an entity or an instance for AMC if you are like operating with DSP, and that can get you access to new to brand purchases for every single PPC campaign that you have running. You can get your conversion pathway, and say like, you know, you may think it's your sponsor products to purchase, but actually your sponsor brand video is enhancing your sponsor products and then they purchase and you understand how that customer journey actually works. You can tailor it down to purchases by zip code, purchases down to the household level. As of like October of last year, Amazon has given you that visibility through AMC. So like the power there is vast. I can't even like succinctly, talk about it
Yeah,
necessarily.
yeah. We need a whole show just on that. I mean, I'm just imagining taking that same data, that like demographic data on the zip code side. I mean, and see
Mhm.
where the pockets are that are naturally occurring, and then you just go run display ads there on Meta or something.
Totally.
Do a brand lift. People in that community are already making purchases on Amazon for that product, and naturally creates a word of mouth like flywheel, and then you
Yep.
get more brand, basically more purchases that are happening on Amazon on the
Yeah.
platform.
And you
So
can you can even, use like ad specific creative for those campaigns, right? So like in your city, you may see like a bunch of the major like beer brands do this, where
sure.
like their billboards will be specific to like hello San Diego, hello Boise, hello Denver, whatever that is, and they tailor it, maybe they use an element of the local environment, whatever that may be, like a famous person, a football player, a scenery, like whatever. And they specifically speak to you. You remember it, you think it's fun, etc. I think especially in this era where we're seeing more like in-person activations become commonplace and demand generating just because we're all sick of being online. Like Pop Tarts really started that, I believe, like a year ago, where in the like maybe NCAA football championship or something like that. I'm not a sports person. But
Whatever, you're a
I'm a
basketball person.
marketing
Don't even
person.
lie to these people.
I read about it. Um, they did a really good job of, like, making a memorable moment for a brand that a lot of people already know, but, like, they did an in-person activation, they had their, like, Pop-Tart guy running across the country, he was live streaming, and ultimately, like, he did this whole, like, Forrest Gump type journey where he landed, like, at the NCAA championship game and, like, came out of a toaster, you know what I mean? Like, it was funny, it was silly, it's not anything, like, super tactical in the sense that it was like, "Buy now," you know what I mean? But, like, it went a long way to create a memorable customer experience that, like, revitalized the market for them. So, like, that's, a re in time like, real, tangible example of this, like, in-person activation. So, like, when you're thinking digitally about that, the closest thing you can do is, like, tailor your ads specific to your user as much as you want it to be, and, like, DSP gives you that capacity on Amazon,
Oh,
but
for
really on the
those
internet
ads.
too.
So I misunderstood. So you can do like
Yeah,
geography-based targeting with
totally.
DSP ads on Amazon that's like
Yes,
referencing,
and
hey,
then you
San
can
Diego.
use specific creative for that targeting. So, like,
Fascinating.
you could really I mean, just managing that could be a full-time job depending on, like, how granular you're trying to get, you know what I mean? You can filter by demographic, gender, income, estimated income, like, marital status, etcetera. Like, back to
So
your,
it's like a proper ads channel. Like, I'm just thinking about Facebook ads.
100%.
Okay, I
Yeah,
had no idea it was that granular. Like, again, this is not my world, so that's why you're here. But
totally.
it's crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah,
So can you do like video ad creative on there, or is it
yeah.
mainly only static?
No, you can do video ad too, and, like, to your point too, like, this is exactly something it was, like, mid-October last year because Amazon had their Unboxed conference, where they announced, like, that this data segment that we're talking about was now available just to the public if you have any active PPC ads on Amazon. So, for years on end, it was only available to people who were spending on DSP. Even, previous to that, you had to commit at least like 50K a quarter, if not more, to get access to it, etc. But yeah, mid-October, like 2024, they said, hey, if you just have ads running on Amazon, you can access this if you want to, if you know how, basically. So, you know, um, it's a crazy development and a crazy shift really that, was intended to bring new sellers to the platform. Like, the bigger Amazon gets, just like any brand that reaches a point where awareness is, like, the only thing they really care about because of the rest of the funnel takes care of itself. Like, Amazon needs new sellers too, and they need to expand and also, set themselves apart against the Walmarts, TikTok shops, like, etcetera of the world where, like, they do have maybe not comparable, but, like, growing competition elsewhere.
No, I think something to remind people is that majority of Amazon's revenue that comes from the marketplace is from ads, right? So if they don't
Oh,
provide
yeah,
an ad service that's like comparable to something you're going to find on Google ads,
100%.
on
Amazon's a
Facebook ads,
casino. They're
no,
just a casino.
totally,
Yeah.
100%. I always found that fascinating. Like when you look at their P&L, it's like AWS, and it's like ads. Like those are those are kind of the biggest segments. But a lot of people think it's the actual sales, like the rake they're taking off of each of the transactions, and it's not the case on the ad side. Largely, that's due to like because there's no ceiling on it. So like as more people enter the market and bid up like PPC,
Yep.
you it will go up as high as the market can basically handle, right? In contrast to when you're like taking a margin percentage, and you're trying to get cheapest prices as possible, like that you can only get things so cheap, but you can again with ads go infinitely high. So um
Yep.
we could go for hours or days about this. Last final thing, like
Okay.
what's something I should have asked you that I didn't? That's about the platform that's like kind of critical to make it be
Ooh,
successful.
yeah. Um, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I talked a lot about how cost per clicks are increasing, ways to navigate away from that, etc. Like, all the same, you do still need to create ads on Amazon and compete in that market. And then, there are some really like tactful, fun for anyone in e-commerce anyway, like ways to sort of hack the system, and like find efficiencies when within advertisements that go a long way. So for anyone like wanting to deploy spend that direction, there's little things like in the search query bar, if I were to search for something like pants, um, I'm gonna get the same search results if I like um do my keyword target with some sort of like word either before or after the word. So I could say like pants for, or the pants or a pants, something like that. Like the queries drop off those articles and they will still show you the search results for pants, but your cost per click is determined by what you actually inputted as your keyword target, which is pants for, which may have like its own, call it like 100 searches a month versus pants, which is going to have like 100,000 a month because it's such a common term. So like you can find some really like creative ways to lower your CPCs, target some different things, and ultimately like build your rank while you're still like a growing brand on the platform. I think that's one key to it, is to like not just accept the CPCs for what they are, the search volumes what they are, like different things like that. I think the second piece, kind of plays into like what data sources are people really utilizing on Amazon, because, again, you're not going to be successful if you don't know how to read your own data on the platform. So for anyone, looking to inform their strategy in total and understand where they're converting, where they're not, like there's a report called Search Query Performance, that effectively gives you like, Amazon literally tells you like, hey, last week on pants, there were X amount of searches. And then from, the click to the add to cart to the purchase, it tells you the total amount of all those metrics that happened on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. So you can literally see like your search volume is one thing, but like the purchase count is a whole other, right? So you can, identify your demand a little bit more acutely by going that route and monitoring yourself that way, because then what they also tell you is like how many purchases you captured compared to the total. So you can effectively see your market share in ways that like on other channels it's almost impossible, to get that information from other competitors. So, definitely
Because
like
they have the
don't
purchase data at a level that like nobody else has, right? Like again, if you're
100%.
looking, I mean, with
Yeah.
Google, the equivalent is like search impressions share.
Mhm.
Whatever, you're getting 20% of total impressions that are available for a respective keyword, but you don't actually
Yep.
know the purchasing power that's related to
Yeah.
that keyword.
Yeah, that
That's
could just mean that you're
actually
advertising
crazy.
more.
Yeah, totally,
100%. So,
totally.
like, utilize your data sources. I think, the other thing too is that Amazon doesn't provide you with repeat purchase data. Like, technically they do, but it's not really useful because it only like looks at new versus repeat on like a quarterly basis as the longest date range. So, for consumption cycles outside of that, it doesn't really matter. For anyone that crosses over quarter to quarter, they'll call you new again, so it's just kind of like wonky data, not really useful, but like there are, ways through the fulfillment reports to calculate your repeat purchase data, your consumption cycle, your lifetime value, and ultimately like get an understanding of this ecosystem that you're building, or, what flaws you may have in that system as it currently stands. So, I think that would just be another piece, and some two like high level recommendations for anyone really trying to make an informed strategy on the platform is utilize your data sources, specifically search query performance and then fulfillments reports for repeat purchase data. And then from there, if there's any sort of metric that you think you don't have and you want, like I guarantee you Amazon does have the data there. It's just about knowing how to find it, how to utilize it, and going from there, relying on things beyond the user interface that they give you like point blank. So,
That's
in that regard, if you're not utilizing a data analytics professional, if you're not one yourself, um, whatever that may be, or, even you can use ChatGPT a lot of the time now, to input reports and like get a quick answer on something. There are like tools that can even get you some data analytics as well. So if,
Has
if you're
Ecom
not
heard of
utilizing
Julius
anything
AI
like
yet?
that, Julius AI?
Yeah, Julius.ai. It's a
No,
data
I haven't. What
analyst.
is it?
Okay, you're gonna freak out when you see this.
Yeah.
So basically, you can upload like a CSV, and it functions almost as like a quant. You can chat with it, but it will write Python code for you, and then
Oh
you
my
can be like,
God, that's
continue.
crazy.
What questions should I can ask you, etc. And it will
Yeah,
basically like function as a data analyst would, but
there
like,
you go.
yeah,
Use
it's
that.
totally. Anyways, I just specifically for you, and I know the amount of data that you're touching, just like in your role,
Totally.
right? Like, something that might be interesting. But this has been amazing, man. If people want to reach out
I
to you,
love
where
it.
can they find you? Like, what's the best places to connect?
Yeah, yeah. Find me on LinkedIn. My name's Jordan Seafelt. Or you can shoot me an email at jordan@piranha.com. I work for, an Amazon only marketing agency. We're called Piranha. We're close to, 10 years old. I've been working here for, over 7 years, and Amazon has been my focus. So it is 100% like the worldview I have from an e-commerce perspective. I'm always interested, in all things Amazon and any discussion. I think we're, a growth agency as at our core. So like at any point in the funnel phase, life cycle that you're at, like we love to take on new and interesting projects at any point in time. And I'm always happy to just hop on the phone too and like consult for free for however long. Like talking, is my specialty. That's why Cody and I are such good friends. So
I love it, man. This has been amazing.
yeah.
Thank you again. And yeah, we'll have you back. And I know everything's changing rapidly. So, like 6 months, we'll have you back on to tell us what's going on in the Amazon world again. So,
I love it. It's been fun.
thanks.